Yes, tonight is the night. We're going to reaction to the Supreme Court decision. That's what we are here for tonight. We're going to be here. Patricia Peters, how are you? Good. Wow, everybody coming in. Douglas, Richard, where you watching from? How are you? Mana. How you guys doing? Douglas, we are here. It's a program that's also about Liberia politics. Says Zanzi is watching from where? Sidiki White. Hey, my brother Sidiki White, how you doing? This is your cousin Suleiman on Staten Island. How are you? Welcome to the show. It's all about Anthony Jones and all of that. It's all about Liberia politics. I'm having a guest here tonight. We'll be discussing the response to the Supreme Court decision tonight. Anthony Jones, how you doing? Please let me know where you're watching from. Mama Fule, how you doing? You at work? You at the work? You work at the airport? Are you there already? Okay, tonight we are going to discuss about the response to the from the Supreme Court to Brumskin. That's what we are here for. So my man will be coming soon. Let me just hang out with you guys. You want to hang out with me for a minute? He will be here. He's an analyst, political analyst, and also environmental analyst. So he's going to be here. Jackson R. Kenny, how you doing? Long time, big brother. Yeah, we're still around. We're around. Thank God. To you, Harris. Hey, T, what's up? We'll be discussing about the response today. So we're going to react to that response. That's what we are here for tonight. So be patient. Be patient with us. Just a minute, and my brother will be here to respond, to react to that. Peace, Tunis. Yeah. Anthony and June. Hey, Miss, what's up, bro? Just hang out for a minute. My brother going to be here. He's going to be here soon. Then we would begin. Let me just call him now. Dapper, don't worry. We'll soon start the ball rolling. Soon start the ball rolling. Okay, if you guys, you're listening, Dapper. Okay. He'll be going to be here soon. Irene, hey, what's up, Irene? I know where you're watching from. Emmanuel Kesseli Nangbe is watching. Where you watching from, Emmanuel? Let me know. How you guys been watching? You're welcome to the show. Tonight's show is all about the Supreme Court in Liberia responded to Brumskin. And we're going to react to that response. If you want to take part in it, you can. But just a minute, we'll be here, and the discussion will begin. Because I have an expert who know how to at least go into the mind of the politician, into their head, and bring us what they mean about what they say. Supreme Court today, their ruling was for Brumskin to go back to NEC, which is National Election Commission, and listen so they can give him the result. If he is not satisfied with it, then he can proceed back to Supreme Court. That's what we're going to be discussing here. So I wish my brother can hurry up to come over, because I'm on now. I'm waiting for him, but I hardly can see him. Are you going to come or not? Walter John Weir, James Weir, what's up, man? How you doing? Okay, we are here discussing about Liberia politics. They put a halt to the elections. They ran up election, which was supposed to be tomorrow, the 7th. But It's being time indefinite right now. Okay, he's here. My brother is here. Okay, I'm going to send him the invite. Hey, Dapo, we are waiting for you. We want the ball to be rolling. We are here only for 45 minutes. So we are not going more than 45 minutes. The program is only 45, the most 1 hour. So sit tight and just listen. It's all about Liberian politics. We are going to discuss about the decision the Supreme Court rendered today. So that's what the discussion is going to be surrounding. So don't worry, be happy. Everything will be cool. We are here only for 45 minutes, not more than 45, at least probably 1 hour. So if you want to hang around, my expert is coming. My guest will be here soon. I'm trying to invite him to join me. Duke. What's up, Duke? Okay. Elijah King Lee. Hey, my camera brother, how you doing? I'm waiting for my man to enter so that we can discuss Liberian politics. And you guys are welcome. You may, if you aspire, you satisfy whatever. Okay, at least you can see him. This is my expert. He's a political analyst, and he has an MA in environmental something. He's an analyst of everything. The two good majors is major in two good subjects, which is politics and environmental something. So today he's going to be telling us about, he's going to go into the mind of Brumskin and also the mind of the Supreme Court. He has been with them since last week, and today they came out with a decision. My brother Randy, how are you today?
Hey, Tunis, I'm doing great, and thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it. 45 minutes. I think it will be a quick learning experience for our followers to get to understand what is actually unfolding in the country. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, before we go further, Randy, can you just introduce yourself for our listeners? Just briefly introduce yourself, who you are. Are you a Liberian or American or Jamaican? And what do you do so far before we go into our topic?
Yeah, my name is Randolph Darpo, and I'm an environmental policies and analyst. Um, I look at every spectrum of society from the regulatory standpoint, from the policy standpoint, and I also have an engineering degree in environmental engineering, and I do have a computer science degree as well. But over the course of the year, most of the my expertise has been looking at policies, the behavior of human being, their interaction with society, why they make decisions, what is the benefit, and what can I do to undo some of the benefits by exposing the behaviors in that. And on top of that, too, I'm also very much in tune to politics. I have a very great general knowledge in politics, and not to mention Liberian politics. I'm very good at analyzing our politicians because over the course of the year, I understood what their positions are, when they strike and when not to strike, when they align and when not to align. So this conversation here is going to be basically about the decision of the Supreme Court tonight. So today, thanks for having me. I want people to look at me as someone who look at things from an analytical point of view, from the root cause to the deviations, and why things are happening, and why we continue to go in circle, and what solution can I provide in terms of that. Thank you, Tunis.
Thank you for that introduction. That's a very fine introduction. So you know the value of the man who is right before you here today to talk about Liberian politics. What was the delay about from the Supreme Court? Anyway.
Well, I think the Supreme Court took the bait from Mr. Bronsky for the fact that we have institutions in our country, and if we are to grow our environment, I mean, if we are to grow our institution, we must build confidence and trust in our institution. So when Mr. Bronsky filed the report with the Supreme Court, I think they had to juggle between whether they should accept or whether they should not. So um, they got caught up between rock and hard places. So in the final analysis, they decided to come up with a decision that everyone has been talking about, which is about due process. following the process that is applicable to our society. So as you can see today, they came up with that decision, which is giving a U-turn back to the NEC, which is the governing body that oversee the election in our country.
But one thing I would like for you to let us know from last week when the case was presented to the Supreme Court,
Correct.
and they told us that they were going to get back to us on Thursday, and which Thursday was a national holiday. Why would they come up with decision like that? And they were knowing that it's going to be a holiday. Why was that?
Well, apparently they got caught up in the process, not knowing that was an oncoming holiday. And for the most part, too, like you observe on the news, they have the ECOWAS delegation in the country. They too are also trying to weather the storm in the country in regards to what the decision of the Supreme Court would turn out to be. So all these factors build all the chemistry that the publicists, that came up with the fact that they were going to deliver on Thursday, probably did not, give thought to the fact that Thursday was going to be a holiday. So, that's a lesson learned, and that's why we're supposed to have publicists who will look at the calendar to determine on what is ahead and when and why can we make or not make the kind of statement. So those are some of the reasons that they flip like that. But I think they learned their lesson too, Tunis.
But do you think Bronsky really went through the due process to take the court case directly from NEC without NEC giving him any response and just taking it straight to the Supreme Court? Was he taking the right process?
No,
Is that?
I you see, Bronsky is a calculated politician. He's a calculated politician that only in there for himself. Because, like I told folks tonight, I like to look at the deviation, the root cause analysis as to what thing happened and why. Let's look at 2005. 2005 had an election, Tunis, and for every election, you have to generate a report that is described as the post-election report. And that post-election report will look at the near misses, the opportunity to improve, the recommendation. That is to prepare for the next future election. Mr. Bronsky was part of that. Ambassador Weah was part of that. President Johnson said he was part of that. Ambassador Weah was the only person who came out to say, you know what, we have some irregularities. How can we face the irregularities? But he got thrown down. People disregard what he was saying. We jumped into 2011. Same thing happened. This time it was Ambassador Weah, and it was also Honorable Tubman. They came again with the same issue of voter irregularities in the election. Again, the same people turned around again and forgot about listening to Ambassador Weah. They decided to move on. Now today, Honorable Bronsky knows very well that the party that he was aligning himself with, President Andy Johnson Sirleaf, is not supporting the Unity Party anymore. So that makes him vulnerable. Now, remember, from 2005 to 2011, Mr. Bronsky was quiet. He didn't say anything. But now he looked into the crystal ball now and feel that there's no hope for him. So what he decided to do now? He decided now to take his own interests, the interest that will benefit him. So he went against the out. We have voter irregularities. It's obvious that it's supposed to happen. Voter irregularities is supposed to happen. It's obvious. But what it is not obvious is the process involved. NEC has the legal authority in our country by law and by rule and by article within NEC regulation that once the election result is announced, after 7 days, you can file your appeal and followed by a 30-day investigation by NEC and her staff. Now, Mr. Bronsky knew that his allegation was insufficient to substantiate his claim with NEC. But because he felt he knows the law, he decided to what? To now wait for the closure from NEC to give him that right to go to the Supreme Court. What did he do, Tunis? He took a case to the Supreme Court. While the case was still being investigated, Musa Belidi was representing Unity Party, presenting the cases of what they had discovered But Bronski felt that because there was a projected date that was given by NEC, he used his constitutional right to go to the Supreme Court. But here's the thing that he failed to make the Liberian people to understand. As long as that 30 days is not concluded, there's no closure to his case, it was going to be impossible to have that election. Because the Supreme Court wouldn't even allow that when you have an ongoing case with a candidate who, for the fact, has a lot of people aligning with his philosophy. So he decided to disrespect the due process that he talked about. He did respect that process, which I wanted Liberian people to understand that when you run an institution, no matter who you are, we need to make sure that we respect the rules regarding any institution in the country. That's how we learn to be good citizens and make our country better. Instead, he jumped to the Supreme Court. Remember, we had 30 days. So between all the time you were running to the Supreme Court and then having the ability to analyze, guess what happened? The case today came out to say, you know what? Since you asked for this stay order, there's nothing we can do. We're granting the stay order. Go back to the go back to NEC to have the issue resolved. But what? Hello, Tunis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right. This is why the Supreme Court should have done. Why it is true that Mr. Bronski has a right. The very day he filed his report with the Supreme Court regarding the stay order, the Supreme Court, knowing very well that NEC had 30 days, they should have denied his appeal and say, you know what, we're going to instruct NEC to make sure that your case is processed and they present a conclusion to you before you come back to us. They didn't do it. They took a bit, and because of that, the Supreme Court managed to take some days away from the 30 days that NEC supposed to have taken to investigate the case, which is why today the court said the case has been sent. I mean, the issue has been ordered to go back to NEC so that NEC can speedily investigate the case. The reason they use the word speedily is because the Supreme Court has taken days out of that too. So now it's up to NEC. But I tell you what, NEC already has a result because NEC, through the different press conferences, NEC through their communication online, have proven that Mr. Bronski does not have a case. So it's going to be a very fast-track decision that will be given back to Mr. Bronski that he doesn't have a case. And guess what Mr. Bronski is going to do? Mr. Bronski now is going to go back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court now is going to decide his fate. As you know, the Supreme Court is the arbiter of law in our country and the final decision maker. Now, there is a caveat to that. Remember, Edwin Snow is part of the Unity Party that has aligned itself with Mr. Bronski. With his work on that committee of justices, I'm having a little doubt because there's a conflict of interest right there. So I want the Liberian people to look at this, that if the decision favor Mr. Bronski and Mr. Snowwell is on that committee, I can say for a fact that she may play some role. So to take herself out of any kind of shenanigan, I would suggest that she recuse herself from that process. And here is why. Because Mr. Snow had gone to the same Supreme Court with cases, and he had won those cases. But those cases have been a very minute cases. But this case is a very large case that we don't want to take for granted. Because you know what? We have two significant parties that are the outstanding party in the country, and we want that election to be held and not to be put in some kind of debacle that would derail our election. So I'm also calling that his wife recuse herself should, in case Mr. Bronski go back for the final hearing of his case. But the NEC going to have a very fast track of Mr. Bronski's case, which they're going to deny, and they're going to recommend a forward step into the runoff election.
But how come Unity Party got involved into this case, and they have already agreed to go for the runoff with CDC? How come they became an adversary to this particular case?
I tell you what, there are two things. Number one, Unity Party does not have the calculus They does not have the chemistry to win this election. So they resorted to Bronsky derail process. Because think about it, Ellen Johnson said he had been the brain behind the Unity Party. She had been the mobilizer, she had been the motivator, she had been the financier, she had been the brain. But because she decided to take a back seat, knowing full well that Mr. Booker does not have the juice to become the next president, she decided to take the back seat. Secondly, most of her folks that are bitter with her, the legs of Councilor Bronsky, including Booker himself, Eddie Snow, these are all the different people that differ with Ellen Johnson's philosophy. So they all align themselves now with the Unity Party. But they have nothing to prove. Remember, Tunis, before we got into this stuff, they were preaching what? The message of war, 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 war. Because they don't have message. How will a party that in power for 12 years don't have a message for the Liberian people? That tell you that they didn't do a good job. So what they resulted to? They resulted to what? Creating chaos among our people, that there will be war. Ambassador Weah win. And we know that Ambassador Weah, who he is, has been the UN ambassador, has been the peace reconciler through the Ellen Johnson administration, and he has done extremely well in that role. Number two, he also had served as presidential candidate within his party, and he also has served as VP in his party, and they had irregularities, but because of the sake of our people, they allow these things to go ahead. But Unity Party feel that they don't have the numbers, they don't have the capability to make the second round, so they're not aligned with Mr. Walker Bronsky. Mr. Walker Bronsky has become the spoiler of this election. He has nothing to lose because he has been a third place person for the past 3 elections. So he coming in as the spoiler. Guess what is happening here? Unity Party that don't have the means to go to the second round to win this election has decided to join the fray, to derail the process, to create frustration within the mind of our people, which is why I'm on here to say, you know why? Look at Unity Party record. Look at Mr. Bronsky's record. Since when did Mr. Bronsky took interest into voter irregularities? Why didn't he speak about this in 2005? Why didn't he speak about it in 2011? Why didn't he speak about it before the election on October 2017?
This is a man who didn't even take 10% of the voting record in Liberia. He didn't even come up to 10%. Why is he taking these steps? And for the matter of fact that he's not going anywhere with this case anyway, even if they have to rerun this over and over more than 5 times, he's always going to be the 3rd place or the 4th place. Where is he taking this to?
Well, it's a political manipulation of game. You know what they're trying to do here? Bronsky, as I told you, is a calculated politician. What he's doing now is a mind game. He wants to drag and derail this process so that the voters in the country can get frustrated. And in his mind, he feels that that is going to build Unity Party to gain more status in terms of numbers. So dragging the process, going to frustrate people, people are going to give up, people are going to get tired, and they're going to go away. But guess what? The multi-Congress for of a democratic change, all right? The CDC party will continue to remain resolute. They continue to remain focused. They continue to keep their guard, which is why when you hear today's decision, look, Tunis, I want to give thanks to members of the CDC party for being so organized. If you look at some of the images that were on Facebook today, they had the police were in full gear. They have the surveillance population that criticize the CDC all the time. They were all watching to see what the CDC was going to do today. Not knowing that CDC is not the problem in our country. When the result was announced, the police came in high gear. Did you see any commotion in the street? Absolutely not. Did you see anybody causing chaos? Absolutely not. Because the CDC is focused on one thing, and that thing is we are waiting for the runoff so we can take Ambassador Weah to the executive mansion. That shows that the party is focused. So what Mr. Bronsky and Unity Party are doing is just wasting people's time and don't want to move forward.
I would like for you to go into the mind of the Election Commission. What do you think they are coming? What will be their response to Mr. Bronsky? And do you think that response going to get Mr. Bronsky back to the Supreme Court, or he just going to waive it? Because I overheard that he doesn't even trust the the election commission. And where are we going with this if he doesn't trust the election commission? And this is the election commission that went through this process, the first run, and there was a date for the second run. Until now, we came to this dilemma. How can we? How can you go into the mind of the election commission?
Well, the election commission mind had already been made up. They see Mr. Bronsky allegation as an isolated issue and as a mere scam to derail the process. Here's why. The election commission had come out with the ballots that Mr. Bronsky was claiming that was actual real ballot that became a fraud. Those were brochures. Those were brochures. When you vote in other countries, they gave you the final brochure to look at in order to determine who you're actually going to vote for. Those are the ballots that Mr. Bronsky brought forward as evidence. And besides that, the magistrate of every county and district within our country, the next administration has contacted these people, and they are proving that there is not any sort of voter irregularity or fraud that took place during our election. So the decision, their decision now to Mr. Bronsky would be, there isn't enough evidence to prove that there were any sort of irregularities. Will that time elapse? Absolutely, Tunis. There will be time elapse because you know what? Since 1847, when it rains, the southeastern part of the country is divided from the northern part. All right, and then from the northern part is always divided from the east and the west because of bad road condition. Those things will equate to having lapses in the time. But does that equate to massive fraud or lapses in our election process? Absolutely not. So Mr. Bronsky's claim is not going to be sufficient to have any decision from NEC in his favor. But guess what he's going to do? When he gets that, he's not going to relax now because NEC already made up his mind. He is now going to run to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, of all courts that we know in the country, we have a deadline of January 18th. So January 18th is supposed to be the inaugural day. I can say for a fact that the Supreme Court is going to tell Mr. Bronsky, based on the NEC decision, as an institution that we trust to run our election in this country, we deem it unnecessary to move forward with this case. And NEC has to look into itself to determine what can be done to correct the process, which is why I'm always calling for post-election report. Because the post-election report will give the next election commissioner the opportunity for improvement, to improve the system. We have an ecosystem in our country, whether it's governmental ecosystem, whether it's the family ecosystem, whether it's a private ecosystem, there will always be margin errors. But those marginal errors can be corrected to prevent further mistakes in the future, which is why I have been calling for post-election report to determine what has gone wrong. And Mr. Bronsky has not been an advocate for these things, but only because he feels that he has aligned himself with the Unity Party that want to create chaos, because they feel in their mind that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is supporting Mr. Weah and the Joel Howard ticket. So they all have supported, they all are supporting him now to go after the Supreme Court in the legal way to derail the peace process, which is unfair to the people of Liberia.
But this is the man that say he doesn't have trust in the election commission. Now, where are we going with this?
They say when the New Year will be good or the Christmas will be good, you can tell from the Eve. He hasn't even gone there yet, but he has already started to cause trouble. Mr. Bronsky is a spoiler. He's a spoiler of peace. He's a spoiler of our political process. He had no good intention for that country because he hasn't even gone there to test what the Supreme Court is made of. Remember, Mr. Bronsky had a beef. Remember when Harrison Conway was denied by the Election Commission of violating the code of conduct? What did Mr. Bronsky? Yeah, he ran to the Supreme Court and got it well, which is why when NEC was investigating his case, he felt that he was not going to get his chance. So he jumped the gun again and went to the Supreme Court. But this time around, he got a punch in the face and said, you know what? We hold that stay order, go back to NEC and go reconcile with them for you guys to have that hearing. And if that hearing turns your way, fine. If it doesn't turn your way, we are here. But again, Tunis, Mr. Bronsky is a spoiler. He's a political manipulator. He's not in the interest of the Liberian people. He and Honorable Borka, I feel sorry for Mr. Borka. This is a man who people claim that he has 42 years record. All right? Do you think for a second that the position that Mr. Borka in, preparing himself for second round, do you think if Bronsky were in that position, knowing who he is, this is a man who was corporate lawyer for a company in his own county, and he put his county under the bus and supported a corporate organization that was disturbing and inhumanly treating his people. Do you think if he had the opportunity that Mr. Borka is in today, Tunis, do you think he was going to take side with what Mr. Borka was going to do, which he's doing now today? No. Second opinion, fact here. If Mr. Weir had decided to do what Mr. Bronsky is doing today in 2011, what was going to be the response of the Liberian people, Tunis? You tell me. What was going to be the response of the Liberian people?
Before we move further, this is a program that I only bring one expert in our Liberian politics at time, and this is the guest I got here today. We are here to discuss the issue, the response. We are reacting to the response from the Supreme Court today. This morning, the Supreme Court brought up our decisions that the case must go back. The case that Bronsky took to them must go back to Election Commission. So I brought up my brother here, who is MA master degree holder in politics, in environmental something that he knows of, and he introduced himself that way. He also got a little bit of knowledge of politics, so he go into the mind of our politician, and that's the reason why he's here for tonight. And we will not be taking call from nobody else. If you want to hang out with us to know more about Liberian politics, this is what we are here for. And we're not here for 45 minutes. We already spent almost 20, 25 minutes. So let me come back to you, Randy. His name is Randy.
Sure.
I'm Tunis. This is all about Liberia. If you're a Liberian, you can stick around. If you're not, you're interested in Liberian politics, you can stick around. Let me come back to you again. What about Uri involvement into this court case? What is involvement in this?
Well, these are